The starship Ardent Horizon drifted silently through the cold emptiness of space. Its sleek metal hull reflected faint starlight as the ship cruised past a cloud of swirling gases, a nebula so dense that the crew had to adjust the sensors to compensate. Captain Mira Torres sat in the bridge chair, her eyes scanning the endless black dotted with stars. She felt the usual mix of awe and tension that came with navigating uncharted space. The crew had been on this mission for nearly 6 months, and every day had brought new challenges, but nothing quite like the anomaly they were about to encounter. It began with a flicker. The lights in the bridge dimmed and brightened in rapid succession, subtle at first, barely noticeable to the untrained eye. Mira frowned, her fingers resting on the arm of her chair as she glanced at the ship's displays. "Status report," she said calmly, though the slight tightening of her jaw betrayed her concern. Lieutenant Soren, the ship's navigator, checked the console. "Minor power fluctuation, Captain. Nothing our systems can't handle. It should stabilize in a few seconds." Before Mira could respond, the flicker intensified. The entire bridge seemed to shudder under the subtle vibration of the ship's engines. Crew members glanced around, their faces tense. Even the usually composed Chief Engineer Kalin raised an eyebrow. "That's no ordinary fluctuation," Kalin muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "We're seeing irregular energy patterns in the hull. It's unusual." Then came the voice. It was soft at first, barely more than a whisper, yet it carried a weight that made every crew member freeze. Humans. The word echoed in the bridge, though there was no visible source. The crew exchanged startled glances. Mira's hand went to the communicator at her side, ready to issue orders, but she hesitated. The voice continued. "Chosen?" The lights flickered again, and the voice repeated, more insistent this time. It was strange, unlike any language they had encountered. Even the ship's AI, Luma, paused, silent for the first time in years of operation. "AI, analyze," Mira ordered. "Can you identify the source?" Luma's voice came back, calm and precise. "Unknown energy signature detected within the ship's hull. No physical presence located. Voice pattern is non-human. Non-standard communication protocol. Translation attempts are inconclusive." The crew murmured nervously. The atmosphere on the bridge shifted from professional to tense. The kind of tension that came before something extraordinary or dangerous happened. Captain Mira took a deep breath and stood. "Kalin, I want a full scan of the hull and engine rooms. Check for anything unusual. Soren, keep us steady. No sudden maneuvers. I want calm and focus, people. Whatever this is, we handle it carefully." Kalin nodded, already moving to the nearest access panel. "On it, Captain." The flickering lights grew more pronounced, and the voice spoke again. This time it was clearer, though still cryptic. "Do not fear." The words were understandable, yet the source remained a mystery. Mira felt a chill. Her crew had faced cosmic storms, radiation surges, and even hostile encounters with alien species. But this was different. This was personal. The voice spoke to them directly, and it seemed to know them. In the engineering bay, Kalin and his team worked quickly, following the energy patterns along the hull. Their scanners detected something remarkable. Tiny, almost invisible structures embedded in the ship's metal responded to the energy surges. At first, Kalin thought it might be some kind of spaceborne fungus or corrosion, but as he zoomed in with the microscanners, he realized these were not natural formations. "They're moving," Kalin whispered, awe and disbelief mingling in his voice. The structures seemed to shift subtly, creating patterns that pulsed in rhythm with the flickering lights. It was as if the ship itself had become alive, though not in a way they understood. Back on the bridge, the voice's message changed again. "Follow the path." Soren looked up from his console. "Captain, the sensors are picking up faint energy signals ahead. I don't know, guiding us?" Mira's eyes narrowed. Guiding us where? We don't know, Soren admitted. The signals form a trail, like a road in space. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Some of them were excited, others were frightened. A few whispered quietly among themselves, debating whether they should shut down the ship or try to escape the signal's influence. Mira raised her hand to quiet them. We're explorers. This is what we trained for. We do not panic. We proceed carefully, and we do not act recklessly. The flickering intensified again, accompanied by a soft hum that resonated through the metal hull. The bridge crew could feel it vibrating beneath their feet, a sensation that was simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. Then, for a brief moment, the lights went out entirely. Darkness swallowed the bridge, and the only thing that remained was the voice, now louder and more insistent. You are ready. Mira's heart raced. She stood straight, her mind racing through protocols and contingencies. Luma, can you isolate the voice's frequency? Determine if it's trying to communicate logically or manipulate systems? The AI's voice was steady. Frequency isolated. Communication pattern exhibits high-level intelligence. It interacts with the ship's systems, but it does not attempt to override human control. Intent appears instructive, not hostile. Mira exhaled slowly, a mixture of relief and apprehension washing over her. She turned to her crew. Listen carefully. This may be the first contact with a form of intelligence unlike anything we've seen. I want detailed logs. Observe, do not interfere unless ordered. Let's understand it first. The lights returned, steady but dimmer than before, bathing the bridge in a soft glow. The voice continued, now clearly articulate, though still strange. Humans, capable of growth. Soren tilted his head. It's complimenting us? Teaching us? Or testing us? Kalen muttered, rubbing his temples. Something tells me we're part of a larger plan, and I don't like plans I don't understand. Mira ignored his comment. Kalen, track the energy patterns. Soren, follow the signal. Let's find out where this leads. Hours passed. The crew worked tirelessly, following the instructions of the voice while scanning the ship's hull and the surrounding space. As they did, subtle changes began to manifest in the ship's systems. Navigation became smoother. Engines more efficient, and sensors detected anomalies in the nebula that had previously gone unnoticed. It was as if the voice, or the intelligence behind it, was teaching them, guiding them to use their ship in ways they hadn't imagined. Yet tension remained. Crew members whispered of fear and doubt. They debated the morality of trusting an intelligence they could not see or understand. Some suggested disconnecting from the voice entirely, but Captain Mira's calm authority kept them focused. She reminded them that the unknown could also be the key to progress, that fear alone could not guide a crew through the depths of space. As the ship edged closer to the nebula, the voice spoke again, this time with clarity and purpose. Ahead, knowledge awaits. Mira's heart beat faster. The words promised discovery, but also implied a test. She knew that whatever lay ahead would demand courage, intelligence, and cooperation. Humanity had traveled far from Earth, faced the void, and endured hardship, but now they faced something beyond comprehension, an intelligence older, stranger, and perhaps wiser than themselves. The crew followed the signal cautiously, their eyes fixed on the readouts. The lights continued to flicker, but the flickering was no longer frightening. It was a rhythm, a pulse that seemed to synchronize with their hearts. The ship was alive, but not in the way they understood. It was alive with guidance, a living mentor wrapped in metal and light. Captain Mira stood in the center of the bridge, her gaze steady. Prepare for first contact, she ordered, her voice calm yet firm. We proceed together, humans and ship as one. We do this not just for ourselves, but for all who will follow. The bridge crew nodded, their tension giving way to determination. The unknown lay before them, vast and mysterious, but for the first time, they felt a spark of hope. They were not alone. The ship's hull, once cold and silent, now seemed to hum with life, with purpose, and with a voice that spoke not of threat, but of possibility. As the ardent horizon edged deeper into the nebula, the voice's final words for the night echoed softly through the bridge. Humans, chosen to see beyond. And in that moment, every crew member understood that their journey had changed forever. The lights flickered one last time and stabilized, bathing the bridge in a calm glow. Outside, the stars shimmered in silence, as if the universe itself had paused to watch humanity take its first step into something greater than themselves. The hum of the ardent horizon resonated through the metal corridors as Chief Engineer Kalen and his team worked tirelessly in the hull. The strange energy pulses had become more regular, almost like a heartbeat, and the tiny structures embedded in the ship's metal seemed to respond to every scan, every adjustment the engineers made. Kalen knelt beside a wall panel, the scanners projecting an image of the nanite-like formations shimmering beneath the surface. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. "They're intelligent," he murmured, mostly to himself. "They're alive in some way, and they understand us." One of the junior engineers, Lyra, frowned at the readout. "But they're in the hull. They could be dangerous." "How do we know they won't sabotage the ship?" Kalen shook his head. "So far, they haven't harmed anything. The lights flickered, yes, but the ship is more stable now than before. I think they're trying to communicate. They want something from us." Back on the bridge, Captain Mira monitored their progress through live feeds from the engineering bay. The crew was tense but focused, aware that whatever lay inside the hull could be the key to understanding the voice that had spoken to them. The flickering lights had lessened, but every time they pulsed, the bridge crew felt an almost tangible presence guiding them forward. "Keep scanning," Mira ordered. "We need to know exactly what we're dealing with. And remember, caution first. We don't provoke it, but we don't retreat either." Kalen's team had been experimenting with gentle energy pulses to see how the organisms responded. When a soft frequency resonated through the hull, the tiny structures shifted in harmony, forming geometric patterns that seemed deliberate, almost like writing in an alien script. Kalen frowned as he studied the patterns. "They're trying to teach us something," he said. "Or maybe testing us." Suddenly, the lights flickered again, more rapidly than before. A voice, calm but unmistakable, echoed through the engineering bay's comms. "Observe, learn, understand." The engineers froze. Even Kalen felt a shiver of awe. Lyra whispered, "It's guiding us?" Kalen nodded. "Yes, and we need to follow. If this intelligence is teaching us, it's giving us a chance to advance in ways we've never imagined." The crew returned to their tasks with renewed determination. They began documenting every interaction, every response from the nanites, every pulse of energy through the hull. Hours turned into days as they slowly decoded the patterns, translating the subtle signals into instructions that improved the ship's systems. Engines hummed more efficiently, sensors expanded their range, and the ship's shields became more responsive to cosmic radiation. Meanwhile, on the bridge, the voice began speaking with increasing clarity. "Navigate. The path. Beyond. Stars." Captain Mira studied the sensor readouts carefully. The signal wasn't random. It formed a trail in space, faint but consistent, as if the intelligence was guiding them somewhere. The crew debated the safety of following it. Some were cautious, arguing that it could be a trap. Others were excited by the possibility of discovery. Mira weighed their concerns and spoke firmly. "We've been trained to face the unknown. We will proceed but carefully. We observe, we record, and we decide. We do not act recklessly. The first part of the trail led them through a dense section of the nebula where glowing gas clouds twisted in strange patterns. Sensors struggled to penetrate the thick plasma, but the ship seemed to respond to the voice's guidance. It adjusted its own systems, automatically fine-tuning navigation in response to energy pulses they could barely detect. Lieutenant Soren, monitoring the course, noticed something remarkable. "Captain, the ship is learning? It's adapting to the environment faster than we programmed it." Mira leaned forward, her eyes wide. "Are you saying the voice, the organisms, are helping the ship think?" Soren nodded slowly. "Yes. It's like they're teaching it. Teaching us. And we're understanding, even if we don't realize it yet." In the engineering bay, Kalen and his team finally made a breakthrough. By projecting controlled energy waves into the hull, they managed to coax the nanite-like structures into forming more complex patterns, which translated into instructions for the ship's systems. The crew watched in awe as the lights stabilized completely, the flickering gone, replaced by a steady glow that seemed almost alive. Kalen looked at Lyra, excitement in his eyes. "This is incredible. They're not just alive, they're intelligent, and they want to help us. If we follow their guidance, we could unlock technology far beyond our current understanding." Lyra smiled, despite the exhaustion. "It's like the ship has a mentor, a silent teacher hidden in metal." Meanwhile, the voice spoke again, this time through the main comm, clear and deliberate. "Prepare for the unknown." The crew felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with unease. They were explorers, but this was more than exploration. They were being led, tested, and taught by something beyond their comprehension. Yet there was trust in the voice, a calm assurance that they had not experienced before. As the ship moved deeper into the nebula, unusual phenomena began to appear. Stars twisted in impossible arcs, and bursts of energy danced across the sensors in patterns that defied conventional physics. The crew watched in awe, realizing that their understanding of space and time was being challenged in ways they could barely grasp. On the bridge, Soren pointed at the readings. "Captain, these patterns, they're instructions, I think. The voice wants us to follow them exactly." Mira nodded, her mind racing. "Every choice we make is being observed. Every decision counts. We need to act with precision and caution. Humanity's ability to adapt, to learn, is what will carry us forward." Hours passed as the ship navigated the strange nebula. The voice guided them through complex maneuvers, and the crew's confidence grew. They began to trust the intelligence, not blindly, but through observation and understanding. In the engineering bay, Kalen finally spoke to the voice through the comm. "We're ready to learn. What do you want us to understand?" For a moment, there was silence. Then the voice responded, calm and deliberate. "Energy flows through understanding." Kalen frowned, puzzled. "What does that mean?" The lights in the hull pulsed gently, and the nanites rearranged themselves into flowing patterns. Slowly, the engineers realized that the structures were showing them how to optimize energy distribution throughout the ship, improving efficiency and stability. It was as if the intelligence was teaching them to see the ship as a living system, not just metal and circuits. As the crew absorbed the lessons, a sense of unity grew. Humans and ship became intertwined in purpose. Every action, every adjustment, every observation was part of a larger understanding that the intelligence was imparting. The once silent and lifeless hull had become a teacher, and humanity was learning quickly. Captain Mira watched the progress with a mix of pride and awe. "We are not just passengers on this ship," she said quietly to herself. "We are students, explorers, and pioneers. And this intelligence, it believes in us." The voice spoke again, this time almost like a whisper meant only for the captain. "Trust. Your potential." Mira felt a shiver run down her spine. She understood that this was more than guidance. It was recognition. Humans were being acknowledged as capable, as worthy of the knowledge and power that the universe had to offer. The days that followed were filled with learning and careful experimentation. The crew decoded more patterns, optimized ship systems, and prepared for the next stage of the journey. Every discovery brought a sense of wonder, but also responsibility. They were being shaped, tested, and guided, and the weight of that responsibility was not lost on them. At night, when the crew rested, the voice would speak softly through the hull, almost like a lullaby, reinforcing the lessons of the day and preparing them for what lay ahead. Humans had faced many dangers in space, but none had been quite like this. They were learning to think differently, to see possibilities beyond conventional understanding, and to trust not just technology, but the guidance of an intelligence older and wiser than themselves. One evening, as the ship drifted past a dense cloud of ionized gas, the voice spoke clearly for the first time in what felt like a conversation. "Path. Unfolds. Ready." Mira stood in the center of the bridge looking at her crew. They were tired, yet their eyes shone with determination. They had learned much, but the journey was only beginning. "Prepare the ship," she said firmly. "We move forward. Humanity has been chosen to witness and understand what others cannot, and we will rise to the challenge." The ship's systems hummed with new life. Lights that had once flickered now glowed steadily, reflecting the unity of humans and machine. The voice had become a presence, not a threat, guiding them forward, teaching them, and preparing them for the wonders and dangers that lay beyond the nebula. For the first time since leaving Earth, every crew member felt something profound. The vast universe was no longer just a void to traverse. It was a teacher, a test, and a promise. And humanity, with all its ingenuity and courage, was ready to meet it. The ardent horizon sailed onward, deeper into the unknown. Every pulse of its hull a reminder that learning, understanding, and growth were just beginning. The voice had become more than sound. It was a bridge to the future, and the crew knew that what awaited them would change not just their ship, but humanity itself. The ardent horizon moved steadily beyond the nebula, leaving behind the colorful gas clouds that had twisted and shimmered like a living painting. Outside the ship, space seemed calm, but the crew knew better. The voice that had guided them through the flickering lights and mysterious energy pulses now spoke more clearly than ever, almost as if it had grown impatient for the next stage of their journey. "Prepare for the unknown," it said, its tone calm but urgent. The words resonated through the hull, a gentle vibration that seemed to sync with the heartbeat of the ship itself. Captain Mira Torres stood on the bridge, observing the readouts with careful focus. The crew had adjusted to the voice's presence, learning to interpret the subtle patterns of energy that pulsed through the hull. The ship had changed. Its systems were more efficient, responsive, and intelligent, almost as if it had become a living entity, aware of both its environment and its crew. Lieutenant Soren pointed to the navigation console. "Captain, the signal ahead, it's leading us to a cluster of stars. But these aren't ordinary stars. Their energy signatures are unusual. Pulses, patterns, almost like communication." Mira leaned closer, her brow furrowed. "Are we certain the path is safe?" Soren shook his head. "Safe? I don't know. But the voice, it hasn't misled us before. If it wants us to follow, it must be for a reason." Kalen entered the bridge from engineering, wiping his hands on a rag. "The nanites, they're still responding. The hull's systems are fully synchronized now. It's like they're anticipating our movements, adjusting the ship before we even command it." Mira nodded. "Good." Keep monitoring them. This next sector could challenge everything we've learned so far. The ship advanced toward the star cluster, its engines humming in perfect harmony with the subtle energy waves that pulsed through space. As they approached, the stars began to shift, their light bending and forming patterns that were impossible according to human physics. The crew watched in awe as arcs of energy twisted through the darkness, creating shapes that resembled grids, symbols, and even something like letters. Soren's voice was quiet but full of wonder. "They're communicating. The stars themselves are part of the message." Mira felt a thrill of excitement and caution. Humanity had explored much, but nothing had prepared them for this. The universe itself was alive with intelligence, and it was speaking directly to them through the stars, the ship, and the nanites embedded in the hull. Hours passed as the ardent horizon followed the trail. The voice guided them through intricate maneuvers, teaching them how to navigate in ways that defied traditional understanding of space travel. It suggested subtle adjustments to the ship's engines and shields, optimizing them for conditions that would have been impossible to predict. The crew worked in perfect harmony, trusting the guidance of an intelligence they could not see but could feel through the ship's responses. Suddenly, a shimmering form appeared ahead of them in the void. At first, it looked like a cloud of glowing particles, but as they drew closer, the particles coalesced into a shape. An enormous structure floating silently, suspended in space. Its surface shimmered with a soft light, constantly shifting, as if it were alive. Kalen stepped forward, awe written across his face. "It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. It's not a ship, not a station. It's something else." Mira's voice was steady, though her heart raced. "We are approaching carefully. Maintain shields, but no weapons. This intelligence, whatever it is, has guided us here for a reason. We do not provoke it." The ship's sensors detected faint energy signatures within the structure, but no living beings. It seemed empty. Yet every movement of the ardent horizon triggered subtle shifts in the energy patterns on the surface. The voice spoke again, resonating clearly through the hull. "Humans, ready? Prove yourselves." The words sent a shiver down the crew's spines. This was more than a simple guide. It was a challenge, a test. Mira felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. The fate of her crew, and perhaps humanity's chance to learn, rested on how they approached this test. "We proceed slowly," she ordered. "Observe every detail. Do not touch anything until we understand it. Kalen, keep the hull systems engaged. Soren, watch the navigation carefully." "We follow the energy patterns exactly." As they approached, the ship's hull nanites began to respond more actively, rearranging their internal structures to interact with the energy field around the structure. Lights on the bridge shifted in color, reflecting the flow of information the nanites were transmitting. The crew realized they were not just passengers, they were participants in a conversation between intelligence and machine. Hours passed as they maneuvered closer. The structure revealed intricate patterns, spiraling and folding upon themselves like a living puzzle. The voice guided them step by step, testing their understanding, patience, and cooperation. Crew members worked together, analyzing the patterns, adjusting the ship's orientation, and following instructions that were as much about intuition as logic. Finally, the ship entered a central chamber within the structure. Though it was impossible to see walls or ceilings in any conventional sense, the space seemed to exist within the void, bounded only by energy flows that defined its limits. The nanites pulsed, reacting to the surrounding energy, and the voice spoke clearly. "Observe, learn, choose. Wisely." Mira's eyes scanned the chamber. "We are ready," she said softly, both to herself and to her crew. "Let's learn everything we can." Suddenly, a projection formed in the air before them. It was a holographic image, vast and complex, depicting what appeared to be a civilization long gone. Cities floated in the air, rivers glimmered with light, and beings moved gracefully, their forms luminous and alien. The voice spoke again, not through the hull, but as if it had taken form in the projection itself. We left. Knowledge. For those who can grow. Kalen stepped forward, his mouth open in awe. They're showing us. Their history. Their knowledge. Everything they learned. Preserved in energy. In light. In us. Lyra whispered, trembling with excitement. We've never seen anything like this. We're witnessing a civilization beyond imagination. The holographic projection shifted, focusing on symbols and devices that were clearly technological, yet completely unfamiliar. The voice guided them through each concept, teaching them in ways that bypassed language, using intuition, energy patterns, and interactive demonstration. The crew began to understand slowly how the devices worked, what principles underlay them, and how to integrate these ideas into their own technology. But the experience was not without challenge. Some patterns required collaboration among the crew, testing their ability to think together and act as one. Other patterns tested ethics, asking them to make decisions that would affect simulated populations within the projection. Every choice mattered, and the voice observed and responded, offering guidance or correction as needed. Mira realized the magnitude of what they were experiencing. Humanity had faced dangers, challenges, and the unknown before, but this was different. This was a test of intellect, morality, and cooperation. It was teaching them not only technology, but responsibility, judgment, and unity. Hours turned into days as they explored the projection, guided by the voice. Crew members who had been skeptical now worked seamlessly with one another, learning to trust both the guidance of the voice and their own instincts. The nanites within the hull continued to pulse in rhythm with the energy, reinforcing the lessons and creating a feedback loop between human and machine. One evening, as Mira stood on the bridge, looking at the glowing patterns on the projection, the voice spoke with a note of quiet pride. Humans. Capable. Worthy. Mira felt a surge of emotion. It was recognition, yes, but also encouragement. The intelligence behind the voice had tested them, guided them, and now acknowledged their potential. Humanity, despite its flaws, had risen to the challenge. Soren glanced at her, eyes wide. Captain, do you realize what this means? We're being taught by a civilization older and wiser than any we've known. And they trust us to learn. Mira nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. We must honor that trust. Every step we take, every choice we make, reflects not just on us, but on all of humanity. The voice pulsed through the ship again, a gentle vibration in the hull. Path continues. Beyond. The holographic projection shifted, revealing a path of energy stretching beyond the star cluster into regions of space humanity had never reached. It was a trail of knowledge, a corridor leading to discoveries that were both breathtaking and dangerous. Kalen looked at Mira, excitement and caution mixed in his expression. Captain, if we follow this path, we'll be entering areas of space no one has ever seen. The technology we'll encounter, it could change everything. Mira's gaze was steady, filled with determination. Then we follow, carefully, wisely, and together. Humanity has been chosen for a reason. We must rise to the challenge. The crew prepared the ship, ensuring that every system was synchronized with the nanites and the guidance of the voice. As the ardent horizon moved forward, lights pulsed in perfect harmony, energy flowed seamlessly through the hull, and the ship became more than a vessel. It became a partner, a living extension of both the crew and the intelligence that guided them. For the first time in months, the crew felt a sense of unity, not just with the ship, but with something greater than themselves. The universe was no longer a cold expanse of stars. It was alive with intelligence, waiting to be understood. And humanity, through courage, ingenuity, and cooperation, was ready to take the next step. The ardent horizon sailed onward, following the path laid out by the voice, into regions of space where stars shimmered with energy, where light bent in impossible ways, and where the lessons of an ancient civilization awaited those brave enough to learn. The ship and its crew were no longer merely explorers. They were students of the cosmos, and the universe had chosen to teach them. The ardent horizon drifted deeper into the energy corridor, the stars outside bending and shimmering in ways that made the crew dizzy with awe. The voice, now steady and confident, guided them forward, providing subtle instructions in rhythm with the pulsing of the hull. Captain Mira Torres stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the glowing trail ahead. Every crew member sensed that they were approaching the final stage of the test, the point where knowledge and judgment would meet. Lieutenant Soren monitored the readings, his fingers flying across the controls. "Captain, the energy spikes are increasing. The structure ahead. It's massive. Our sensors can barely penetrate it. Whatever is waiting, it's beyond anything we've encountered." Kalen joined them, wiping sweat from his brow. "The nanites are reacting more intensely than ever. It's like the ship itself knows this is important. Every system is synchronized, responding instantly to the environment. We've never operated this smoothly before." Mira nodded. "Good. Keep it that way. Everyone stay focused. We've come too far to falter now." As the ship drew closer, the structure revealed itself fully. It was enormous. Floating in the void without any visible support, its surface shimmered with 1,000 colors, constantly shifting as if alive. Patterns of energy flowed across it, forming symbols, shapes, and grids that no human mind could fully comprehend. The voice spoke clearly through the hull, almost reverently. "Humans. Reach. Final trial." The crew felt the weight of the moment. This was more than exploration or learning. This was a test of humanity itself, their intelligence, their judgment, and their ethics. Mira felt a chill run down her spine, knowing that every decision they made here could determine whether humanity would be deemed worthy of the knowledge they sought. Soren spoke quietly, awe and fear mixed in his voice. "Captain, the projections, they're showing simulations. Simulated societies, simulated civilizations. Choices we make seem to affect them." Mira nodded slowly. "Then we must act wisely. Every decision reflects on us. Humanity must prove it can handle responsibility, not just technology." The ship entered a vast chamber within the structure. Though the walls were invisible to human eyes, energy fields created boundaries that contained the ardent horizon. Within this space, floating platforms of light shifted gently, forming puzzles, challenges, and symbols. The voice spoke again. "Solve. Understand. Collaborate." Kalen examined the patterns, realizing that each one required precise teamwork. "This isn't just about intellect," he said. "It's about cooperation, understanding, and judgment. We have to work together, every one of us contributing." The crew began the first challenge. Energy grids projected from the platforms, and they had to redirect flows to stabilize simulated environments. If they succeeded, the projections flourished. If they failed, simulated cities collapsed, rivers dried, and skies darkened. It was a test of skill and patience, requiring them to balance logic with ethical decisions. Hours passed. The crew worked in harmony, following the voice's guidance while making choices that reflected their own judgment. Lyra, the junior engineer, realized that some grids required them to prioritize the needs of some areas over others. "Captain, it's not just about solving the puzzle. We have to decide what's most important. People, lives, everything matters." Mira nodded. "Exactly. The voice is testing our humanity. Intelligence alone isn't enough. Compassion, judgment, and foresight matter too. They moved to the next challenge. The projections now showed civilizations on the brink of conflict. Energy flows could stabilize peace, but only if the crew coordinated perfectly and made the right moral choices. Arguments broke out briefly among them, as different opinions clashed. Yet, under Mira's calm leadership, they found compromise, combining strategies to save the simulations from disaster. The voice pulsed gently, approvingly. Humans, capable, understand. Each challenge became progressively more complex. The ship's hull nanites adapted alongside the crew, enhancing systems and helping them respond to energy fluctuations, yet never taking over. The crew realized that the voice wanted them to succeed through their own decisions, guided but not controlled. This reinforced a sense of unity and responsibility. By the third day, the crew had learned to anticipate patterns, to communicate silently, and to act with precision. Even the ship seemed to have become part of them, its lights pulsing in harmony with their hearts, its systems anticipating their needs. The intelligence in the hull and the structure had become a teacher and a mirror, reflecting humanity's strengths and weaknesses. Finally, the voice spoke, more clearly than ever. Humanity, proven, worthy. The chamber shifted. The puzzles dissolved, leaving a vast, open space filled with a radiant energy unlike anything they had seen. The projections displayed scenes of the civilization that had left the structure behind, soaring cities of light, beings of energy moving in harmony with their environment, and technology that defied human imagination. The voice resonated through the hull with warmth. Knowledge, yours, if used wisely, for growth. Mira stepped forward, awe filling her voice. We've reached the end. But this is only the beginning. This knowledge, it can change everything for humanity. Soren's eyes were wide. Captain, the technology here, faster than light navigation, energy manipulation. It's beyond anything we've dreamed of. If we integrate this, humanity could reach every corner of the galaxy. Kalen nodded, understanding the gravity of the moment. Yes, but the challenge was never just technology. We had to prove we could handle responsibility, ethics, and collaboration. That's why the simulations, the trials, they mattered. The voice pulsed through the ship one last time. Guardians, chosen, advance, with wisdom. Mira understood instantly. Humanity had been tested, and the intelligence had deemed them ready, not just to learn, but to carry knowledge responsibly, to explore the universe with integrity and understanding. The ship's hull nanites pulsed in harmony with the energy, stabilizing the structure around them, as if congratulating them on a job well done. The crew began documenting everything they could, recording principles of energy, navigation, and ethics as demonstrated by the ancient civilization. The lessons were vast, but clear. Knowledge without wisdom was dangerous, but guided intelligence and ethical judgment could allow humanity to flourish among the stars. As the ardent horizon prepared to leave the structure, the energy corridors around them shifted to open a safe path back into normal space. The voice spoke softly, almost like a farewell. Humans, you are ready. Remember, always, growth, understanding. Mira turned to her crew, her voice steady but filled with pride. We've been tested and we've succeeded. Humanity has proven itself capable not just of knowledge but of wisdom. Let's honor that trust and continue our journey responsibly. Soren smiled, excitement and humility mixed in his expression. Captain, we've been given a chance to change the future, to explore safely, to learn, to grow. Lyra nodded, eyes bright. It's more than discovery. It's responsibility. We can't take this lightly. Kalen placed a hand on the console, the hum of the ship resonating through him. And the ship, the nanites, everything we've experienced, it's part of us now. We're connected in ways we never imagined. Mira gazed out the front viewport as stars stretched into lines, the warp engines ready to engage. The universe had changed for them, and they had changed for it. Humanity was no longer merely travelers. They were students, guardians, and pioneers, chosen to carry knowledge responsibly into the far reaches of space. The ardent horizon activated its new systems, engines humming with increased efficiency, shields shimmering with advanced energy management, and sensors now capable of detecting phenomena light years away. The Voice's guidance had taught them more than technology. It had taught them trust, collaboration, judgment, and the power of human ingenuity. As they left the structure behind, the crew felt a profound sense of unity. Humanity had faced the unknown, embraced its challenges, and emerged wiser, stronger, and more capable. The vast universe was no longer a cold void, but a living teacher, a partner in the endless journey of discovery. Mira recorded the final log entry for the mission. We are not alone. The universe has chosen to teach us. We have learned that knowledge without wisdom is dangerous, but guidance, courage, and cooperation make us capable of growth beyond measure. Humanity has been recognized, tested, and found worthy. Our journey continues, and we will rise to meet it. As the ship glided through the stars, the lights of the bridge and hull shone steadily, no longer flickering, a symbol of human potential intertwined with ancient wisdom. The Voice, once mysterious and elusive, had become a silent mentor, guiding them not by command, but by trust. The ardent horizon moved forward into the endless expanse, carrying humanity's promise to explore, to learn, and to grow responsibly among the stars. For the crew, every pulse of the ship, every flicker of distant light, and every wave of energy from the universe was a reminder. They were chosen, not because of power or dominance, but because of courage, intelligence, and the ability to rise to challenges that demanded unity, judgment, and hope. The universe had opened its lessons to humanity, and they were ready to learn everything it had to teach. The ardent horizon sailed onward, and in the quiet hum of its engines, the crew felt the presence of the intelligence that had guided them. It was no longer a voice in the hull. It was a partner, a mentor, and a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. And somewhere, in the endless stars, the universe waited, ready to offer more mysteries, more lessons, and more opportunities for humans to prove themselves worthy of all that lay beyond the known.